Can Red Velvet's Wendy avoid Nugudom? Hey guys, today I have a spiritual follow-up to my Joy video. We're going to discuss and review Wendy's third mini-album, Cerulean Verge. This marks her first release after leaving SM and joining ASND. I had a lot of questions and thoughts leading up to the release of this album, and now that it's here, I have some more. But before we dive into it, I want to acknowledge the fact that I am kind of losing my voice. I think I'm about to get sick, so if I sound different or if my voice breaks at times, I'm so sorry. But let's just dive into it. Cerulean Verge was released on September 10th, so just over 3 weeks ago. I've had some time to listen to it and I'm conflicted. Trying to make this a bit more digestible, I'll cover the songs and the album first, then I'll talk about the MV. So the album itself is 6 songs, 17 minutes, relatively on par with her previous mini-albums. Also consistent is her alignment with the color blue, her representative color. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the MV section. Getting straight into it, the album opens with Fireproof, an uplifting song about being there for someone. I've grown to really enjoy this song. The lyrics do a good job of driving that point home. The narrator recognizes this person is very guarded and reserved, and throughout the song, they reassure them that nothing could get in between them or make them go away, saying in the pre-chorus, quote, "Even in the midst of any trials, know I'm gonna be right there. Even broken fragments shine, even these wounds." I also really appreciate the implication that she is water, or the sort of association, something that she's played with thematically in the past. It makes a reappearance here figuratively by mentioning that she, and by extension this person, are fireproof, but also by creating that association with the color, because she mentions diving in with this person as well as stating in the final chorus that, quote, "I bloom in blue," once again drawing that parallel. The song's message is beautiful. Its instrumental also helps echo this sentiment, with drums and guitar that feel really hopeful and bring that positive energy, as well as what I believe is the synth in the background that's growing throughout the first verse that helps the chorus burst with feeling. Speaking of feeling, I want to really appreciate the final chorus for doing everything I wanted it to. She gave ad-libs, a key changed high note. Thank you, Wendy. The bridge leading into this final chorus was good, but personally I'm not that big of a fan when it's clap based. I'm fully on board with stripping it back, and the beginning had these beautiful twinkles that made me really excited, just for it to be undermined by something a bit more cliche. This leads me to talk about my gripes with the song. Bridge aside, I didn't like the intro of her saying, "so fire away." I feel like it would have had more impact if the song started out with just the instrumental sort of leading you into it, because as is, the instrumental behind the lyric does just that. But the contrast between her more punchy delivery and more relaxed intro kind of threw me off. But the retro vibes are something I enjoy in general, so it kind of cancels out. Overall, a solid intro song, even if the intro to the intro catches me off guard every time. I'd give it a good 7.5 out of 10. Nothing is really wrong with it, and as time goes on, I enjoy it more. Next up, we have the title track, Sun Kiss. And with this one, I have a few gripes, mainly with the lyrics. Like I always say, I do not speak Korean, so there could be some misinterpretation since I rely on the translated English lyrics. However, the song sends me very mixed signals. She opens the song by saying, quote, "I'd break the wall, a light that awakens the dawn." She also says in the pre-chorus, "I'll ignite flames resembling flower petals." This to me says that she is the sun kiss, supported by both the post-chorus saying, quote, "Fall into the sun kiss, run into the sun kiss, beyond the border, I'll embrace you fearlessly, fall into the sun kiss," and the bridge saying, "Fallen, for me, run into the sun kiss, for me, I spread more vividly." Sunlight and warmth is characterized by yellows, oranges, reds. However, the song then ties in and aligns itself with her pre-established blue coding, saying in the chorus, "Brilliantly spreading the blue horizon," as well as an almost perspective change in the second verse saying, quote, "Your warmth in the transparent light, dye and fill in the faded colors, turned all my yeses to gold. Even when I'm out of breath sometimes, even if a rough tsunami swallows me, I don't give up, I'll clash with all my might, only if I could hold you." Now, this person is the quote warm one. The chorus doesn't even really help clarifying anything, quote, "Fly up, I'll kiss you in that red light," a dazzling color that blooms and shines, brilliantly spreading the blue horizon. Though it's incredibly unfamiliar, I've been waiting for you. Needless to say, I was and still am a little confused. Also, the line of "let them leave before breakfast but stay in their heads" feels so random and out of place. Sonically, the song sounds like a sort of foil to the last one. In Fireproof, that feeling of hope was carried in the beginning by drums and guitar, where here it's led by a piano. To me, it feels like the same song, different font. Bright, uplifting mood with a general message of support and embracing the other person. That's also not necessarily a bad thing. My issue stems from them being back to back. From my perspective, these two songs along with the closing track are supposed to be this sort of reintroduction to Wendy, and it's kind of eh. The song sounds good, but I can't really get past my previous gripes enough to accept it as a title track. I'll talk about the MV later, but I feel that just worsens my feelings about the song. Conceptually, I feel Fireproof did it better. So rehashing something so similar and having it be less good right after feels like a choice, and I'm not sure it was the best one. 6.5 out of 10. I really want to stress the song isn't bad. It just feels underwhelming as a title track, especially after Fireproof. Comparing it to her previous work, it fares okay, but listening to it in conjunction to the rest of the album lessens its impact. Speaking of, our next song is Existential Crisis. I have very mixed feelings about this song. The beginning intro all the way through the first chorus are very difficult for me to get through, especially the "I'm a creep, mind your biz" line. It makes me cringe so bad. I do feel the need to add I'm not usually the biggest fan of more rock influenced songs, they're just not really for me. Because of this, her delivery on some of the lines really felt like nails on a chalkboard. But I can't stress this enough, it's because of my own life experiences and memories that caused this visceral reaction. After the second verse, it becomes more palatable and even enjoyable at the end. Her delivery becomes a bit more theatrical and dramatic with the ad-libs and high notes that make the experience of the ending a lot better for me. So for the first time in a while, the short runtime actually works in my favor. So all of this combined, I'm conflicted. While I appreciate and at certain points enjoy her exploration of the genre, I can't lie that my own bias hinders my full enjoyment. Hearing her a bit more raw was a double-edged sword, because of the memories I associate with the genre of music, but hearing that same emotion in the high notes and ad-libs, a part of music that I genuinely love and look forward to in songs, make rating this song so difficult. Because on the one hand, I want to give her props objectively for covering a topic and genre that isn't super common, at least among what I consume in K-pop. However, if it's purely based on my opinion and all the nuance that goes into forming it, I can't rate it higher than a 6. Its highs are higher than Sunkissed, but its lows are the lowest on the album for me, at times even leading me to skipping the song altogether. I'm pretty sure I have the unpopular opinion regarding this song, at least from what I've seen online, so I'm curious to see how you guys feel about it. Moving on to much more positive territory, we have Hate 2 or Hate Squared, one of my favorites on the album. This song for me ticks all the boxes, starting out with the message. I feel this is a song directed at all the criticism she's faced in the past, whether that be because of her weight or, unfortunately, her look after the accident. This song screams from the rooftops, quote, "I am beautiful," and I love it. Also, for the record, Wendy is gorgeous. Literally my bias in Red Velvet, just to be clear. Speaking of clear, the song lays its message out very well. People want to put her in a box. Insert NCT joke here. You could say she's banging on the roof and she broke out. People wanted her to be quiet and act a certain way or look a certain way, but she trusted her intuition, and that led her to reassure herself that she was and is still so strong and beautiful. Even through life's trials and tribulations, she hates those expressions of negativity and doubt that were placed upon her, so she broke out of them. She got no limit, no limit, no. In all seriousness, moving along to the instrumental, I love it so much. I also appreciate that it's a bit more fast-paced and it really builds up well to the chorus. I also love the different deliveries between the first and second verses. The more talk rap really worked for me. But the thing that worked the most, that final chorus. wow. The way it starts out a bit more stripped back and picks up just as she belts, chef's kiss. The ad-libs in the end also feel like the cherry on top. This truly felt like a refreshing treat after my confusion during Existential Crisis. 9 out of 10. Now it's time for our mandatory English banger. Chapter U is a romantic love song about sharing life together. Even if the lyrics are a bit corny and predictable, I still ate them up, licked the plate, and asked for seconds. Her tone and delivery on this one is also super addictive. At parts, it feels like she's singing through a smile, really conveying those feelings of love. I also want to highlight her gorgeous lower register in the first verse, paired with her more breathy and airy highs. Plus the strings, it's so good. But, as much as I love this song, I do have some qualms about it. Actually, it's just one drawback that would have made the song a masterpiece for me. It doesn't have a bridge. Not even a change in tempo. Even without it, the song clocks in at 3 minutes and 9 seconds, the longest runtime on the album, so I get why they maybe felt it was good as is. But imagine a bridge where it's just the strings building up as she just gushes over her feelings for this person. Have it be really drawn out. Then a big long high note followed by a violin solo that tapers off for a second, and the final chorus comes in with a key change, ad-libs, and really builds up the theatrics. I know this isn't that type of video and that the vibes are different, but to show what I mean, I want to use Love in the Dark by Adele as an example. Ignore that one part is the final chorus and the other is the bridge, and focus more on the vibe. Can you see the vision? Anyways, my other nitpick is that the repeating chapter U in her head voice got a little old by the end. In my edit, the final one would be belted in her chest voice to mitigate that, but all of this to say, I feel the song can handle additional runtime. And so can the album as a whole. Her first mini was one less song, but a whopping 2 additional minutes. And that's on ballads. Anyways, as is, the song is a 9.5 out of 10. Still very good, but my brain wanted to be tickled a little bit more. Closing out the album, we have Believe. Now, Believe is a special case because it serves multiple purposes. Depending on what type of listener you are, this was either a pre-release, intro, promoted B-side, or an outro. Chronologically speaking, this was our first look into what this album would be like and sound like. So as a pre-release or intro to the album, it works great. When combined with Sunkiss, it really feels like a reintroduction like I mentioned previously. It sets you up for a great listening experience because structurally, this song leaves you wanting more, therefore enticing you to go listen to the album. Once you're listening to the album in order, then my gripe with Sunkiss becomes more apparent, but I already covered that. So now, speaking as a B-side and outro, I feel it works, just not as well. As a closing track, vibe-wise, beautiful. It shares that hopeful feeling the beginning of the album has that really makes me look forward to her future releases. However, I wish the song had a bridge to pad it out a little. It feels like we have these great vocal moments in both choruses that aren't really anchored with anything, because the message itself works wonderfully for an outro. Feelings of hope and overcoming a storm really paint a strong picture. But again, it sort of feels like a last show of her vocal ability that leaves me wanting more. So it's this double-edged sword. I really like a specific part in the right circumstance, while it's also its downfall in another. And honestly, I think that's great. It forces me to address and analyze my feelings on the song and try to articulate why I feel this way. Even with my jumbled mess of thoughts, this is also a highlight for the album. So I'd give it an 8 out of 10. So that leads us to the end of the album. Speaking about it overall, I really enjoyed most of it, and I'm so happy that she has the opportunity to keep releasing music and exploring her artistry in an environment where she's hopefully more in control. Do I have some slight complaints with certain parts? Yes, but her previous work isn't without criticism either. I have very mixed emotions about the Wish You Hell album and how that release was handled, and I'm gonna do a video in the future talking about it. But why did I ask if she can avoid Nugudom? Glad you asked. For that, I will need to refer to the MV. The storyline to me doesn't make sense. You have a house, a studio set, a building, and a running track. The scenes themselves also don't really tie into a cohesive storyline for me. There's also some similarly formatted scenes to Wish You Hell. The room with the fabrics reminds me of the red and black striped room, as well as the trash bag clip reminds me of her suitcase clip. These could be coincidences, but it feels like she's redoing her own work. I also fully know these aren't original ideas, by the way. I'm just pointing out how they were done in her previous title track. Speaking on the studio set scenes, these feel a bit more on the budget side, which is why I bring up Nugudom. It's no secret she left SM and is now with a smaller label, ASND, home to just herself and From Is 9. Both acts having a similar story of having a second chance now at this label. This album hasn't been out long enough to compare apples to apples, but on first week sales alone, this is Wendy's worst performing release, selling just a bit over a third of what her first 2 mini albums did. That doesn't necessarily mean anything since view-wise, Sunkissed surpassed Wish You Hell I think in its first week. But being in a smaller company, funds need to be spent wisely to be able to sustain releases. I love the stages she got, and the styling, for the most part, ignoring the Riz outfit, was pretty good. Part of my gripes also with the music video are tied in with that mixed imagery that the lyrics of Sunkissed convey. There's a lot of red, a lot of warm tones, there's also a lot of blues and a lot of cooler tones. When the message itself isn't really clear to me, this dichotomy in what's being shown also confused me a little bit, but maybe I'm not understanding the vision. To be able to fully answer my question, we're gonna have to wait a little bit to see how she does with her subsequent releases. Because if she keeps going on a downward trajectory, she doesn't have SM to fall back on as a legacy act. But she also might not receive as good of a deal when it comes to compensation and freedom. So where am I going with this? Wendy is set to embark on her first solo tour in the coming weeks. Touring is how a lot of artists make that income back. And let's just say, with the price of the add-ons for the tour, I think that's exactly what they're doing. Almost $300 for a VIP, and it doesn't even include an entry ticket, is crazy. But still, I did buy a ticket and I'll be seeing her in November. I'll definitely let you know how it goes because thankfully I've been privileged enough to go to concerts from Big 3 all the way to Nugu, so I can give a pretty fair comparison. Now, how can she avoid Nugudom? Well, first would be releasing consistently and remaining in the public eye. Basically, staying booked and busy. Second, keep the music quality up. This album was the first step to see what we could expect from her, and if they keep this up, that will definitely help. Third, put out a full album. Really give us a taste of who you are as an artist outside of Red Velvet and what you can do. And lastly, promote with Red Velvet. This one might seem to contradict my previous point, but it's just as important. I also know it's up to SM to keep up comebacks for the group and for all 3 agencies to be able to coordinate for that to happen, but if she's able to promote with them, it helps keep her relevant as a member and can in turn drive eyes to her solo work, especially if it's of the same or better caliber. Additionally, I didn't mention this one since she's doing it, but going on tour. That's super important in fostering that close connection to fans, especially over here in America since Red Velvet hasn't been to the US in years. Their last tour I think was the Red Mare tour that ended in February of 2019. Obviously ignoring SM Town Live 2025 since not all the members were present. However, depending on how these shows go, you might need to revise your pricing, girl, because in my opinion, it's too damn high. But time will tell. So can Wendy avoid Nugudom? Yes. However, she must be careful not to share the same fate as some of her 3rd gen peers, like G-Friend or Mamamoo or other groups before her. Not everyone will be a Taeyang and be this breakout mega superstar, but if someone has the potential to fly like her, I believe it's Wendy, even if not while under SM. So this album review took a bit of a turn, but thank you so much if you stuck around to this point. I'm very excited to see what she puts out in the future as well as seeing her on tour. But thank you guys so very much for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Click that bell icon so you're notified every time I post a video. Tell me in the comments down below which song of the album was your favorite and are you excited to see what she has in store for us? Because I know I am. Remember that I love you guys so much and I gotta go because it sounds like I smoked a fat pack of cigarettes. I love you guys. I'll see you hopefully soon. Bye!